everybody. Welcome back to another MandoLessons Live. Sorry for the tech difficulties there. Every once in a while I try to change too many settings at once. Not irregularly, really. And things go haywire. So I'm back to my old settings as far as I know. I hope I'm coming through well. Seems like that's the case, but let me know if things start freaking out, and I'll do my best to fix them. That was a tune called Leo's Lullaby. I think it's a recent composition, but I don't know who by. Old time tune. And this is a funny little mandolin that I just got in the mail. I don't know anything about this thing, but I figured I just strung it up like an hour ago. I got it on eBay. It's very small. It's like a little travel mandolin. Never seen anything quite like it, so it was kind of cheap, so I had to go for it to learn more about it. All I know is there's a little on the back. I don't know if you can see this you can sort of see right there. It's got some numbers. It says either, I think it's 555 or 565. It's the only mark on it. There's nothing in the sound holes. Nothing anywhere, so maybe it's a homemade thing. But as a little comparison, this is the size of this thing, and this is the size of my Ellis. So it's very small. It's about, the scale length is about 1 fret shorter on the mystery machine here. So it's a little shorter scale length, maybe like 13 inches versus 14, but yeah. It needs a little bit of work, but it's a fun little thing to play around with. But let's go back to the normal one. So, after that strange little introduction there, welcome everybody to MandoLessons Live. We've got folks from all over here. Oh, that's one thing I didn't do yet. Pop out chat. Bear with me here while I get the chat in a way that I can see it. Make it nice and big so I can read it. Alright, let's see. We've got Shari, Dance Tune, Sheldon, Lewis, Simone, Armatus, Rob. Great to have you all here. For those of you who haven't been here before, the way these work is most Saturdays, although in the summer it's been very infrequent, just because summer gets crazy, and I guess it's almost fall. Is it fall now? Is today the first day of fall? The 21st? Or is it later? Is it like 22nd and 23rd this year? In any case, summer's been busy, so there haven't been quite as many of these. But this is a chance to have about an hour of Q&A. So, no question too advanced, no question too simple. I'm happy to talk about anything mandolin, music, practice related, and just sort of see what you're all up to. Love hearing what you're working on, and just getting to hang out for a little while. All right, Kevin Baker, first time from Arlington. Caught you live. Moved from Jerusalem. Okay, yeah. I remember when you were over there. Cool. Lewis has just got a Gibson tenor guitar. Very fun. Serial numbers on the back of the headstock like that. I'm curious about your Gibson tenor. It wasn't on eBay recently, was it? I just saw one that was very cool that I thought about bidding on, but I did not. Although I don't think it would have gotten to you because it arrived. It ended yesterday. But would love to hear more about your Gibson tenor guitar in any case, because those are very cool. Chip from Oklahoma, Jeff from Florida. All right, people are still coming in. That's great to see. Charles says, what's your favorite John's ice cream flavor? That is a good question. So John's ice cream is over kind of about 30 minutes from where I live. It's my favorite ice cream place. For a long time, I was a dedicated ginger ice cream eater. Everything they make is amazing. But I've recently really gotten into their pistachio. I'm not a huge pistachio nut, pistachio connoisseur. It's fine, but I know some people really like or really dislike pistachio. I'm kind of in the middle, but this pistachio ice cream is great. It's really full of real pistachios. It's not fluorescent green or anything. It's very good. It's made me into more of a pistachio person. Shari says Skyboat, a request for Skyboat song. I can definitely do that. Blackberry Blossom ice cream. Let's see, Skyboat song. There's a little bit of the Skyboat song, lovely Scottish tune and song that is on my website. Thank you for the request, Shari. Make sure I caught up on everything here. Seems like there's more folks trickling in. Always great to see. Kevin says, love getting back into mandolin. Just got my mandolin back after about 3 months due to the move. Got rusty. Need to relearn some tunes. Well, I'm glad you're reacquainted and getting back into it. All right, we have Facundo from Santiago, Chile. Thanks for joining us. The intro to White Dove. I don't know that song. At least not by name. I might recognize it by sound. Oklahoma, AJG, formerly in Germany. Very cool. It seems like lots of people are moving around. Kentucky Big Cats. Hello from the home of the Bluegrass state. Thanks for joining us. James, good to have you here. Do you know Farewell Tryon? I do. It's on, I think it's on my website because it's also on my solo mandolin old time album. I think that's it. Let's see. That's not it. I don't know what that song is. Oh, that's a different tune. That's a cool tune. That's Maysville, as played by J.P. Fraley. But Farewell Tryon. There it is. There it is, a little bit of Farewell Tryon. Tryon, Georgia, I believe, is what it was written after. Tidies, thanks for joining us. Yeah, sorry about the couple false starts. Had some technical difficulties, so it probably bounced you around a little bit, but I'm glad you got to join us after all. Ray says, my first mandolin's on the way. Very exciting. Thanks for the website and videos. Going to help make learning possible. Well, I'm glad I can help you out. Glad you're here, and can't wait to hear about the new mandolin when it gets in. Hope you can join us in the future. Christopher says, watching from Roanoke, Texas with my wife, who wonders if you know Pigeon on a Gate. Oh, I bet I do know that tune, but I just can't start it. Ashokan Farewell. That's a great tune. Unfortunately, that is a copyrighted tune. It was written by Jay Unger. And I unfortunately can't play that one because of the copyright restriction. Pigeon on a Gate. Let's see if I can get that one up. Just because I'm curious if I can get that one going.
Okay, this is a real...
Let's see. Yeah, I can't quite get that one to come out of my fingers. But it's a great tune. It sounds familiar, but I don't know it enough to make it happen. But I'll try to learn that one. That's a good one I should learn. James has any tips for someone going into their first session? Might make for an interesting video topic sometime too. That is a great question with a lot of different variables. Part of it, what kind of session are you going to? Are you going to an Irish session or an old time session or bluegrass, or it could. I think every different sort of type of tunes has their own kind of session etiquette and kind of the way things run, and then even within that, like whether you're playing Irish music or old time music, each individual session within those genres have their own kind of way that they tend to run. I think the best thing you can do when you go to a session is really, leave the mandolin in the case for a little while. When I started going to the Irish session here in my town, I didn't really know any of the tunes, so I just kind of sat there and listened. It's a good, if it's at a restaurant or somewhere you can just hang out, you can just kind of hang out off to the side, hear all the tunes. Cool. Yeah, James says old time, maybe Scottish too down the line. But kind of going back to the Irish thing, I didn't know any of the tunes that they were playing, so I just kind of sat and listened and watched. And you can do the same thing at an old time session. Just kind of go and see how things are running, see if there's like a session leader, see if you recognize any of the tunes and know how to play them. By all means, ask if you can join and jump in. I'm sure people will be more than happy to have you join them. That's kind of what sessions are all about. And yeah, so just kind of get in there and start playing. Make sure, if it's often, the first couple times I go to a session, I hang, even if I'm playing, I try to hang back a little bit just in case people are playing slightly different versions of tunes or things like that. Just kind of let the session run as mostly a bystander, plays along every once in a while if I really know the tune. If you hear tunes you really like and you don't know them, you can ask the name of them, and people will tell you, and you can ask what key it's in and what the name is, and maybe kind of write those down, or ask if you can make recordings, then go home and learn them on your own time. And just it takes a little bit of time just to kind of get used to the particular kind of session etiquette that's going on. Some are going to be a little more kind of, I think most sessions are very friendly, but that said, some, depending on the style of music and the place it's happening, can be a little kind of less outward. I think most people are friendly, but a lot of sessions can kind of come across as a little stern or rigid. I don't know exactly why that is, but I think I'd say take the benefit of the doubt that people are friendly, even if they aren't being like exuberantly friendly. I find that more in Irish sessions. Super friendly people, but there's just sort of like a set agenda that they follow, and it's all about playing music, and they just kind of go for it. Rambling a little bit, but I'd say go a bunch, make it a habit to go regularly. You'll start hearing the same tunes, and as you hear them, start to say, "Oh, I recognize that one from last time. Like, what is that one?" So I can go home and learn it. Or, as you hear them, you'll start to pick them up on the fly just by hearing them multiple times over the weeks and months and years that you go. So I would say, the best thing to do, go regularly and listen first, and then play, and sort of don't be afraid to ask questions or anything like that. Great question, though, and that would be a good one for me to kind of get into with a standard lesson where I could kind of condense my thoughts a little more than just rambling for a couple minutes. Tidy says, is it possible for a session, maybe today, to demonstrate some licks on the mandolin that could be used in a bluegrass jam? That's a good question. I don't know a whole lot of like licks per se. I really, there definitely are things that you can do that are sort of quintessentially bluegrass. What I would recommend is mostly, again, kind of like going to sessions, listen to the bluegrass that you're like in the bluegrass that you like to listen to, and you hear around you, whether it's recordings or other people. See if you can kind of, a lot of those little licks are going to be little fills in between verses, or things that you can add to the solos, like kind of bluesy things like that, which I can zoom in and just kind of give you an example. So that would be like, in constant sorrow all through his days. It's just a little kind of tag musical interlude before things jump in. So that's a nice one. Starts on the 3rd fret of the E string, then 5th fret of the D string. Sorry, 5th fret of the A string, then 3rd fret of the A string. Then you're going to slide 1 to 2 on the A string. And you can slide it or hit 2. And then 5th fret on the D string. So 3, 3, 5, 3, 1, 2, 5. So you might be and then once you get an idea for a lick like that, kind of listen, try to work those out. Like, you can often kind of sing that sort of thing. Boo, boo, ba, doo, doo, doo. Just a short little line. And then figure it out. You could figure it out in a couple keys. So there's the key of D, or let's see if we go to B flat. So work it out in a couple keys that you find yourself often playing in. And then, I would say that's the way to go, is pick one lick, learn it in a bunch of keys, and then move on, learn another lick, learn that one in a bunch of keys. And that'll make you a more versatile player and a more kind of informed musician. And it won't kind of turn into you having a bunch of licks that you can't quite keep straight, only in one key each, where, you need to be in the right key to kind of execute that lick. If you have it in a bunch of different keys, it's going to be that much easier to use it a lot and get comfortable with it. Let's see. I think I lost my place here. Oh, cool. Charles says, would love to hear your song Common Ground since we're headed to the fair soon. Sure, I'll play a little bit of Common Ground. This is a waltz that I wrote. It's on my website about the Common Ground Fair, which is happening in Unity, Maine this weekend. I'm going to actually be up there tomorrow. So if any of you happen to be around, shoot me an email. Maybe we can catch up or something. But here's the tune. It's like a waltz in the key of D. Oops. There we go, a little bit of On Common Ground in honor of the Common Ground Fair happening this weekend. Mary says, I'm wondering about how to relax the right hand enough to play double stops fluidly. I have the pick direction down, but all my double stops sound forced and out of line with the melody. That's a great question. I think one thing that really ends up happening is, at least at first, you need to abandon a certain amount of control in your right hand. You know, so as you start playing double stops, it's just sort of like, it might feel like your right hand is just being sloppy because you spend so much time starting out playing the mandolin really working on playing single lines and purposefully not hitting other strings, because that's quote unquote like the wrong thing to do. That said, you kind of need to break some of your own learned habits when you get into playing double stops. So I think one thing you can do is you can work on like a D scale. So and you're just going to stay on the D and A strings the whole time. You're going to play one octave of the D scale. It's going to sound like this as a single line melody. Back down. Make sure you're nice and loose and everything's feeling good in your right arm. And then you're going to widen out your pick stroke to hit both sets of strings the whole time. And your left hand's going to do exactly the same thing. So you're going to walk up that scale and back down. You're just going to be hitting the D and A strings all the way through the whole time. And maybe you'll hit, like if you hit a G string or an E string, that's not what you're going for, but that's all right. You know, it's mostly about really relaxing your right hand and allowing it to kind of widen out to hit multiple sets of strings. You can do the same thing. things like that. Or you can try a little bit of like tremolo with double stops. Things like that to, it's all about kind of learning to allow your hand to go a little farther, get a couple other strings, and kind of convince your mind and sort of what you've already learned that it's okay to kind of break habits that you've already made when the time is right and you want that double stop sound. All right, let's see. Rob has some suggestions about going to a first session, be able to play 3 chords in the key of D, D, G, and A. I think that's great advice. Also, if you throw a C chord in there, you then have all the chords to the key of G, which is G, C, and D. The Pelican says, it seems like a good trick is to play in certain parts of a song is to use downstrokes back to back with pauses. Am I right? I think I know what you mean. That's sort of like kind of staccato sound that you hear a lot in bluegrass. It's kind of a little, those notes don't really ring out. It's not, it's got a little, they kind of chopping off the end of that note. And I have a lesson on my website about that might dive into that detail a little bit more. Let's see, what is it called? Be in the technique and fundamentals section under the right hand technique. It's called consecutive downstrokes. And it kind of gives you a little insight into that technique. Anyone know any friendly sessions around Arlington-DC area? Oh, that's cool. Luke says Glen Echo has a open band on the second Fridays. That's a great way. All right, Denise, good to have you here. Kind of open contradance bands is a great way to get into group playing. Maybe if you know a DC area session, let Kevin know. Oh, cool. James says, as we're hearing some Baron originals, how about Cosmo's Flight? I picked up a copy of The Baron in the Trees, which is the book that inspired the tune, by Italo Calvino. Hope you enjoyed the book. Here's a little bit of Cosmo's Flight. Let's see here. Lost track. Woo! Let's try it again. it Cosmos Flight. It's on a couple CDs. It's on my CD with Julia Plum, the fiddle player. Our band is Velocipede. It's also on Noah Fishman in my album. Anyone in the Michigan, kind of Detroit area, I'm going to be doing, I guess, I'm going to be doing a couple shows out in Michigan. One in Ann Arbor with Noah, and then one in Lansing at Elderly Instruments, which I'm very excited about because I have not been to Elderly. I've driven by once, but I didn't stop in. It was on a road trip and didn't have time, unfortunately. But we're going to be doing 2 shows kind of beginning of October. You can find more info. Where can you find more info? If you look on the Elderly website, or if you're on Facebook and you search Noah and Baron, Noah Fishman, Baron Collins Hill, you'll find the Facebook events for the Elderly gigs and for the gig in Ann Arbor. For anyone that's out there and local. Cool. Christopher says his wife is working on arranging it for harp so you can play along together. Very fun. What would be some of the most challenging Irish tunes? That's a good question. What you can do is you can go to my website and look under the lessons, fiddle tunes by difficulty, and then go down to advanced. And Irish tunes can get very complicated. I tend to, on my website, put tunes that are complicated but also somewhat common. I think it all kind of depends on what you're used to. But let's see, if I under the advanced section, tunes that are Irish, Banish Misfortune, Cooley's Reel, Dunagore, Harvest Home, Irish Washerwoman, Jig of Slurs. That's a cool 4-part tune. The Kid on the Mountain. I don't know if that's it's not on my website, but it's a 5-part slip jig. John Stenson's, a great tune in the key of A. Miss Thornton's, a lovely tune in the key of G. Sergeant Early's Dream. That's a great complicated Irish tune. D minor. Tam Lin. I guess that's technically maybe a Scottish tune, but in the Irish repertoire as well. Let's see. Oh, The Kid on the Mountain is on my website. Great. Made Behind the Bar, Mason's Apron, Rights of Man, King of the Fairies is it's got a lot of parts and it's a little twisty. It's not fast, but it's probably right up there. Silver Spear, the Virginia. So yeah, you can search my website by difficulty level and see what you can come up with. Cool, Cynthia is here. Christopher Gronlin's wife playing harp and fiddle. Cool. I'm glad you both could join us. Rupert's got a great question. Can you say a little bit about swung versus straight rhythm for reels, especially Irish tunes? Which do you prefer? I will happily talk about that. It's also, let's see. I feel like I did a lesson on this not too long ago. Let's see. If you search on my website, I don't know what it's under, but if you search swing on my website or on YouTube, swing, I have a lesson called swing rhythm versus straight rhythm. Kind of go through that whole talk, but kind of a brief dive into that question. It's a great question. Is sort of the question of if I was to play a tune like I'll play Dunagore, a great Irish tune in the key of G. Might sound something like this. Let's see. I'll play it straight and then swung. very even sounding. And then swung would be. The difference that's going on in my right hand there, it's the same tempo, except I sped up a little bit. But the idea is, with the straight rhythm, ba 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 da 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 da, the kind of downstrokes and upstrokes get the same emphasis, and with the swung rhythm, your downstroke gets a little more time and a little more emphasis, so it becomes just like a da da da. So if I like tap my foot, maybe you can hear this. That's swung. That's straight. Same tempo. Swung. And there's varying amounts of swing that you can add. I tend to swing pretty much everything. That's just kind of what I like to hear. That's not to say that it's right. I think each style of music has its own distinctive swing, whether you're playing Irish tunes or old-time tunes or jazz. And I mostly find that I try to match, if I'm playing with other people, I just try to match the swing that I'm hearing from the other person or the ensemble, and sort of just try to fit in as best as I can by trying to match that emphasis and that swing. Any suggestion for toughening up fingers? Yes, play for short amounts of time, multiple times a day. You know, play for 5 or 10 minutes, put it down, take a couple hours. It'll happen over time. You can't really rush it, but multiple times a day, short periods of time. You can also do things like avoid like getting your hands like wet and soapy, but then you're not washing your hands. That'll kind of help your calluses build up. But ultimately, I don't really think about it. I think if you just, you know, it'll take a couple months, but just play as much as you can without, you know, hurting yourself, and it'll happen naturally. Columbus Stockade Blues. You've got the best tunes, the Pelican, but I don't know any of them. I wish I knew that one. That sounds nice. I've never even heard of that. Andrew says, traveling, can't wait to listen. Have a session with a fiddler in my youth group tomorrow. Working through a few waltzes. Your site is an amazing resource to be able to point people to. Thank you very much, Andrew, for the kind words and super chat donation. Really appreciate it. And everyone who does super chat donations or PayPal donations and Patreon. We've got people who do all those things, checks in the mail. It all really helps me keep doing what I'm doing. And thank you all so much for however you support. You know, the website's always free, and I don't want anybody to support that isn't comfortable doing that, but it's always appreciated if it's in the budget. But not a necessity. Always appreciated, though. James says, want to throw us a nice Irish jig. Do you know Haste to the Wedding? I do. Is that it? Can't remember if it's in D or G. I'll play it in G. I should just look it up. That's what happens when I'm pretty sure it's on my website. If not, it should be. What? I know it's there somewhere. Wow, okay. I guess it's not on my website. It is in D. Okay, good to know. Let's see. Yes, I will play a little Haste to the Wedding, a great tune. Whoops. There it is, a little Haste to the Wedding. Just had to figure out what key to do it in. Do it in G. That's a great tune. I should put that on my website. Luke says, suggestions for beginner waltz tunes. Absolutely. Let me look at my website and make sure I suggest things that are actually there. Waltzes. The nice thing about waltzes is a lot of them are pretty achievable at any level. Waltzes. Star of the County Down is sometimes played as a waltz. That would be a good one. That's probably a familiar melody. Skyboat Song is a great beginner waltz. The South Wind, Tom Bigby waltz. Those four are probably the least notey, anyway, of the tunes that I've got on my website. Cynthia says, love that you're trying songs you're not sure about. Yeah, that's my specialty, is not being sure about stuff. I'm happy to give things a try. Sometimes my fingers know more than my brain does, so you never know what's going to happen. So might as well give it a shot. The Pelican says, got any tunes in the key of B that you can do? I don't know that I know any tunes in the key of B. I mean, tunes that pop into my head are tunes like, a lot of those tunes are also recent compositions that are copyrighted. Like Rebecca is a great tune, but copyrighted. I most of the time that I spend in the key of B is playing along with songs where the singer wants to be in the key of B, and then kind of taking solos and playing the melody of those songs. So you could do like. There's a 9-pound hammer. This 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy for my side. For my side. Roll up, buddy. Won't you roll so slow? Can I roll when the wheels won't go? Things like that. I'm mostly playing kind of like traditional fiddle music. You don't run into a whole lot of stuff in the key of B natural. Occasionally some B flat tunes, which I also don't know that many of. None off the top of my head anyway. Alright, afternoon from the UK, from the Disco Davros. I like that username. Good, I guess it's also afternoon here. So good afternoon from Maine, USA. All right, let's see. Well, I didn't I think I didn't see, and maybe Denise, you can correct me, but I was looking at the episode guide, and I don't think we have anything scheduled for today's play along jam. So we could either pick something right now or just pick something to do next week so you have a little time to prepare. because I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but feel free to throw stuff out, and if it's something we haven't done, we can try to do that now. And if you got any last minute questions, got a couple minutes left here, so speak now or wait until next time this happens. James says, any more Scottish tunes you can throw our way? Yeah, I saw when you wrote that, and the thing that popped into my head is Highland Laddie. I think it kind of is in a couple. There's Irish versions and Scottish versions. I can't remember what the Irish version's called, but I think they do it in A in Scotland. That tune. Haven't thought about that one in a while. And there's some different chords that people play. Sometimes there's some minor chords instead of major chords, but I just kind of made it all major because that's the way I like to play it. All right, we got a couple requests for something to do. Big Scioto. Have we done that one? I don't know that we have done that one as a play along. Oh wait, there's a way. I'm gonna do a little. I know that Denise set up a. Index of tunes. Let's see. I think it's all the way at the bottom here. There's enough of these things that it takes a little while to load. Alright, let's see. Big Scioto. Oh, we have done play along. Oh, no, but it's only on the website. Okay. Yeah, let's do a little Big Scioto. That's the first one that came up. It's a great tune. Let's do that. And then maybe Mari's Wedding. Can't remember how that one goes off the top of my head. And it's also not on my website at this point. But let's do Big Scioto now, and then have we done Over the Waterfall? Yes, that was episode 46. I'm glad that Denise put this together. Flop-eared Mule. Great. Yeah, so let's do Over the Waterfall today, and not Over the Waterfall, whatever the first one was. Big Scioto today, and Flop-eared Mule next time. And I'll catch up on these questions. So get your mandolin out while I answer these last questions. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for the dueling super chat donations from you and Christopher. And while you get your mandolins out, let's see. I think I missed a couple of questions here. Lewis says, I feel good about doing about 20% of the advanced list of fiddle tunes. Yeah, that's great. That's a solid chunk. There's a lot of tunes in there. Hey, Gail from Montana. You're late, but you're just in time for the play-along thing. So if you know Big Scioto, get your mandolin out and we'll have fun with it. Charles says, I saw a mandolin player in a band last week and she was using a capo in a couple songs, but the first time I've seen that, usually it seemed players change keys. Do you ever use a capo and why? I think there's a lesson on my website where I discuss this. Ultimately, I don't mind using capos. It's not the most traditional thing to do in bluegrass, because Bill Monroe didn't do it. But yeah, I have a lesson on my website called How and When to Use a Capo. The thing that capos do, I've actually got a capo right next to me so I can demonstrate. You know, the mandolin's nice when you have these nice ringing open chords. You kind of use all those open strings. And you can't really get that, you know, if I wanted to do that tune in the key of B, that's it. So it would be. You can get some double stops, but you can't get that real ringing sound. But if you have a capo, plop it on the 4th fret. This is just a guitar capo, not really the right tool for the job, but I think it'll work. 4th fret, you can now play all those same things you can do in G in B. You get all those nice ringing open chords. So I like capos. You know, it's not the most traditional sound in bluegrass. That doesn't mean it's not allowed. It's often used more in Irish music. You know, if there's a song, you know, Andy Irvine used capos and mandolin all the time. And just because, you know, if the singer's singing but he still wants all those nice open chords, there's your answer right there. Easy as slapping a capo on. So, you know, both are fine. It's nice to be able to know how to play in a bunch of different keys, but it also, you know, there's some things you just can't do without a capo. All right, so let's play a little bit of Big Sciota, and then call it a day here. But the way this works, we'll pass this tune back and forth a little bit. I'll play the melody, you play the chords, I play the chords, you play the melody. If you don't know the tune, see what you can pick up. If you do know the tune, use this as a time to get nice and steady with it and kind of play it through a bunch of times. If this tune is old news to you, see if you can do some improvisation, add some ornaments, things like that. Try to challenge yourself wherever you're at with this tune and just have a good time. Key of G, here we go. How does this tune go? Big Sciota. Let's do it about there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go for it. D part. play chords. Good to see you, Denise. Thanks for stopping in. You got it. Let's do it one more time. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your Saturday and weekend. Have fun at Common Ground, Charles. And see you next time. Bye-bye.